thank you so much for joining us today. As we begin, can you say a few words about your current role in the organization?
Yeah, currently I'm a Chief Information Security Officer and Vice President at CapMetro in Austin, Texas. And I've
Mhm.
been here about a year. And prior to my arrival, I was only a network person that kind of had a side job in cybersecurity. But after some outside reviews and uh, how can I say, reviews of the process inside, they recommended that CapMetro bring in an actual security team. So they brought me aboard, and I have two people with me as well that work as a team, and we're starting off from basically scratch and just learning what's here. And then the past year has been discovery and making this place better than what it was, and hopefully continue to do so.
I understand. I understand. Well, that kind of paints the picture of where you are right now, kind of this dot on the line in your career trajectory. But how did it all start? What was the first stepping stone?
I started years ago. I was actually started off as a software designer, programmer, and then moved into Oracle databases and that type of design. And I
Mhm.
started working with New Jersey criminal justice
Mhm.
and got into some of the security aspects there. And then I was working for Homeland Security in New Jersey for quite some time as an application lead and manager. And I
Mhm.
just got more and more involved in the cybersecurity. So I kind of started to make the shift from programming databases into the cybersecurity scenario. Basically, starting with pen testing and then start off with how can I better protect the databases I have and so
Mhm.
forth. And it just from there, it just was a labor of love, and I just found it so thrilling. And it's not like other subjects because there's no limit to the information. It's constantly evolving, and there's no time to ever let up on the gas because I love learning. So this
Mhm.
it's beautiful just to keep up with it all the time.
It's amazing. It's interesting that you mentioned that because I also believe that part of the reason why cybersecurity is so fascinating that it's changing all the time. It's always a moving target, whether it's new technologies, new vendors, new threat vectors. It's always nothing really stands still. And it sounds like you had quite a career and quite a range of experiences. And from your vantage point, what would be your advice for some of the junior professionals just starting in the field? Maybe they're transitioning from technology into cybersecurity, or maybe even kind of further upstream, just finishing up school and looking into the space. What would be your advice? What are the two or three things in your view they should focus on?
Well, I think years ago, cybersecurity was kind of a easy path. It was narrow, but just over the years, it's really expanded to so many different directions: application
Mhm.
security, network security, pen testing. There's so many different routes to go, and so many specialties within it overall.
Mhm.
So what I did, I came into it obviously later than I would have at high school or college, but I utilized what I had skills in, either programming and
Mhm.
databases, and used those essentials to start where my pivot as far as how I protected the programs, how I protected the database, the data, encryption, and so forth. And then,
Mhm.
took it a step further. How would I played the bad guy? How would I get into my application and so forth? And just from there, that experience broadened and then went into the networking, so forth, and it just got more and more involved. And then um, again, it's hard. You really can't be an expert in all of it. You have to kind of pick your spot and land there, and then work with a team. I don't think any one person can do it all. I mean, on a managerial level, director level, of course you can coordinate all these things, but I don't think you ever get that knowledge, in the granularity that you need in each
Mhm.
of these positions differently. There's so many facets of it right now.
Certainly, certainly, and well, one thing, uh, going back to the point that cybersecurity is always changing, is also so, as you mentioned, there are so many aspects to it, from GRC to pen testing, kind of, and everything in between. And one thing that I realize is that if you pick a field, if you pick an aspect of cybersecurity, you want to be prepared to stay engaged, curious, and passionate about for a long time. And often, just at the onset, it's not always easy to make this choice. And often I see that uh, some of the younger professionals that try to get exposure to different aspects of try their hand at everything to see which one they're lean more, whether it's aptitude or just general interest. And and then double down in that particular area. Is it something that you recommend? I mean, and also kind of baked into that, does it mean that it would probably make more sense to join a startup or a small organization where kind of by default you're wearing many hats and you're exposed to different things, or maybe join a larger organization with a formal rotation program and just go through different departments? Is it something that you would recommend? Because it seems like for a junior professional, it would give a more of a 360 view, so that he or she can then pick one field and go deep on that one particular area. Is it something you'd recommend, or what will be your kind of thought process around that?
My thought process about that is it's depends on the individual. Some people like to try by fire and learn from a fire hose. That's kind of how it's been for me. Not my choice, but it's just, I've come in and I've been the only person and had to solve these issues. And that's probably not a real good situation to be, on the job learning, but it makes you produce quickly. But I mean, if I never had the option of going to a large stock team, and becoming part of that little, just looking at logs and so forth. So this, how can I say, one's more of I look at myself more of a triage in a sense. I know where to head, get it set up to go straight, and then I, hand it off to the specialist. So that's kind of where I'm in right now. But I'm not one of those specialists where I can, I can if I spend the time, but I just don't have the time. So if someone's interested in just strictly pen testing, or they really are fascinated with a certain aspect of cybersecurity that they know they love and want to do on, by all means, go into that direction. But as my father said, anyone can be number two. Only one can be number one. Make yourself the best at what you do.
It's a good point.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you find something you love, just do the best you can. And there's so many authors out there and people doing this. Just that some of the books may not be relative. Others they just have a lot of experience from doing things that one individual lane. So you just got to go for it.
For sure. Well, it's a scary world out there, and every time you open a newspaper and there's another breach, another company is kind of in the name in the headlines, and not in a positive way. What are the top three main cybersecurity headaches for you, from your perspective? What will you say is top, and kind of a CISOs in general? What's top of mind?
I think I don't know if this is in CISO in general. As far as what I find important is not, as I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing internally, just basic configuration, what people are doing, as far as behaviors, and that's just with the phishing part. It's just the part of educating them and making sure that there's not how can I say, an admin, default accounts left on the logins and stuff. Things like that are really scare me the most, because there's something simple like that allows someone to get in, or at least from the inside. Once they're in, it makes it easy for them to pivot on those things. And equally as important, tried whether I want to admit it or not, but AI has just become the big thing in the past year, and I don't think that it wasn't a slow surge. It was more or less of a tidal wave. So there's so many options out there, and things that took some time, brute force, and then types of, probing, so forth, can probably be done a lot quicker, and will be done a lot quicker in the future, especially with like quantum computing. It's just you don't know what you don't know, and probably we know less than what we do know about all these things. So I just, you've got to be ready to adapt and be flexible for whatever's coming down the road, and just try not to freeze or panic in the instance. Just take a breath and deal with what you have, and things will work out if you push through it, is how I feel. So that's it's not so much what the issue is, it's how you respond. That's a big part of this business. That's my take as well, because I sometimes my initial reaction is just this, oh no, and you want to run or wish it didn't happen. But then if you can get out of that phase fast and then say, okay, well, it is happening, what do I do now? You just have to get your bearings and deal with that. So I think that's an important part of it that people kind of, you never hear about in school or in textbooks and so forth.
For sure. Well, they say it's the fight or flight response, but there's deer in headlights response. You don't want to be, you don't want to.
Exactly, and it's going to happen. You just have to realize that, okay, it's not going to get us anywhere.
Exactly. It's interesting. You mentioned the quantum computing. I hear when that day comes when we're actually facing quantum computing capabilities from kind of threat vectors, then basically all encryption is going to go away. If not all, maybe most of encryption will go away, just because it'll be so powerful that it'll be able to crack just about anything.
Curve, which we depend on big time now, it will be just useless almost.
Exactly, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
So it will be everyone is living with houses with glass walls. Everything can see everything. It's a quite scary future out there. But I want to double click on something that you mentioned, that training and providing guidance to employees about phishing attacks. I think so many organizations invest so much into systems and technology and tools and processes, but at the end of the day, often it's the humans that prove to be kind of the weakest link in the system. And I think the best example, the most recent example in Vegas, the MGM and Caesar, where a 10-minute conversation engineering attack directed not even at the organization, at the third party, at the IT help desk of the third party, brought down a massive multi-billion-dollar organization. And I just saw this morning that they're estimating that the damage is in over $100 million, and that just
110 million. Yeah, yep. So I read the same thing.
It's just mind blowing, and it's mind blowing that a tiny ant can defeat a mighty elephant, so to speak, to borrow this analogy. So how do you think about addressing that, and what are some of the best practices or maybe ideas in terms of how do you cybersecurity? At the end of the day, it's a team sport. How do you include everyone, the team, so everyone is aware that it's not just cybersecurity is not just the job for the CISO department or for the cybersecurity department. It's everyone's job, and everyone needs to be aware and on board and alert, and interested and curious about learning how to keep themselves secure and their organization secure. What are some of the best practices, or maybe some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, first of all, we do have a mandatory training program when you come on board. There's about an hour's worth of training or so, and we do it recommended. We enforce it yearly as well, and we do some phishing tests and so forth. But I think the most valuable part about that is I don't just meet the people when there's some security concern. I constantly work with them in the teams, networking team, the applications teams, and work with them and coach them and to see what their thoughts are, what are their difficulties, and get them involved. So it's kind of it's not a competition. It's just it allows them to look at another aspect that they not necessarily looked at in the past, and it puts their focus on that. And I don't want to say we're our employees are pretty good so far, because we've had a lot of phishing campaigns and people really haven't clicked. Now I'm knock on wood. I don't want to ruin that, but it only takes one person. But so I just get them involved and show them what we're doing, and they want to meet with us. And just earlier today, I had a meeting with another part of the team and OT as compared to work with IT, and that was just hey, we're here to work with you, not against you. And I try to come in as a teammate, not as an obstacle. I just want to provide better service and let them know that's we're here to help them move forward. I think if you work with them rather than against them, it really solidifies that relationship.
Certainly, it's I know in some organizations, jokingly, people say cybersecurity is the department of no. That's where kind of all the ideas, all the initiatives go to die, and kind of really wearing this business hat and being part of the, not just the one with the finger, just like you cannot do that, but really an enabler of business outcomes. I think that's when the rest of the organization joins in, and it's kind of one team, one effort. It certainly makes a lot of sense. Switching gears a little bit, we talk a lot to cybersecurity executives, and every time we bring up a topic of vendors, almost always there's a visceral reaction. And what I'm finding is most of professionals tend to get 200-300 emails before lunchtime, whether it's demos and whatnot. Which, I mean, understandably they're incentivized in a way to kind of produce that, but sometimes it's just aggravating. And I wanted to ask, in kind of recent memory, I mean, maybe last 6 months or so, which vendor, without naming names, which vendors kind of impressed you on the positive side, playing the long game and really providing value and creating a relationship without really kind of asking for much, and building themselves as partners and thought leaders before really asking for business? What are some of the examples that surprised you? And on the flip side, what are some of your pet peeves? What are some of the things that vendors tend to do sometimes that really rub you the wrong way?
You know, it is funny you say that. When I first got into the business, you would get these emails and you try to be polite and answer each one individually, and then rather than cut off the conversation, it perpetuates it. It makes it, you know, back and forth. They're still trying to leverage you, and then I get to the point now where I just ignore them. I, you know, delete them because it's become untenable. If I answer these emails all day long, I get nothing else done. So, you know, it's not that I don't look at the emails, but it just seems like there's a shooting in the dark at hoping I'm going to take a bite. But I like the ones that kind of look at what industry I'm in, transportation, you know, and that sort, and see how it aligns. Maybe I'm looking at something for you know, IoT or something, and they send me a blurb and they said, you know, if you just want to know if you're interested in this, it's not pushy, and let us know that we think we can help you. That's something that I really tend to say, okay, this is in my alley. This is what I'm working on and thinking about. Let me see what they have to offer. So those are the ones I find are the most viable options, where we actually, you know, communicate with them. Just a one-off, or sometimes I'll get 10 emails in a week from the same person. Those are just, it's, you know, between that and LinkedIn's another abused platform as far as advertisers and vendors. But I think it's just the ones that do a little research, they know what we're working on, and basically, you know, address a need I have, or what that think we have. And so if they do that, again, I meet with a lot of vendors often, but usually that's the way it is. There'll be either through an email from me, or through another vendor, or maybe like a carrier like Verizon or AT&T will recommend someone. So that's a lot of times, like, recommendations is another way to really say, okay, you've done this here, and these people may be able to help you solve. So let me talk to them. So that's how I kind of go on to do products. And other times it's just if I see something just on the website, or in the internet, something, I'll reach out to an actual vendor and ask them myself if it's something that I'm interested in. So sometimes it's nothing they have to do at all. It's just me reaching out.
It makes sense. It's interesting. It's, if someone takes time to do the research, if they show they care, and they have the tact to not jump into trying to sell, just trying to learn about an organization, learn about needs, and providing help without asking for anything, I think it certainly would go a long way. No, it's sometimes people share instances when their cell phone rings at 7 in the morning on a Saturday, or I had another conversation. I really like the term drive-by meetings, when people just send invites in hopes that it's really aggressive. So it's certainly, and I'm curious that they persist at that, even though those tactics don't work. So it just, I guess, I don't know if just a sign of
I imagine they work in certain circumstances because they must be getting someone.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
But I'm just surprised that it's still in 2023, it's still something that exists. But that maybe with the AI, I imagine, I would get some hate mail if they say this, but I think with the AI, I think some of those habits will go away eventually, hopefully in 2024. That's John. That's great. That's really very interesting perspective. I know we're coming up on time a little bit, but a few last questions.
Sure.
If you had a crystal ball and you can see into the future, in next, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, maybe 2 years, what will be 2-3 themes that are either kind of prevalent today, or maybe emerging, people maybe not paying attention as much, that you think will be top of mind for cybersecurity practitioners in that time frame? What would some of those be?
Well, I think one area that's very important is just the nationalism, terrorism, I mean, from other countries and so forth. That's going to affect not just military, but it's going to affect standard, transportation. It's going to affect energy sectors and those. And I don't know that we're prepared for all of those at this time. We're like SCADA controls and that we have legacy, I guess, mechanisms and devices out there that just really don't blend well with technology, and I'm just concerned about how they're going to make the jump from technology to an old legacy system or something that's really not digitized. And there's because they're not there yet. I mean, you say you want to try to air gap something, but there's going to be a way, I think, where you can get around that is what I'm worried about. I'm not sure how they're going to do it or what the focus is. I hope you follow me. I'm a little bit abstract on this, but I just don't know that we're ready for the angles that they're going to come at us with. And so I'm just trying to keep an open eye and look at what's going on, like with MGM and with what happened in Dallas, a few months ago, and so with the ransomware and how these things were hitting that. And so I'm really concerned about what we're not paying attention to. I mean, because what's going on now is just a decoy effect, just to have us running one way, then they'll hit us in the other one 6 months, a year from now, and the trend changes. That's what I'm kind of looking for, trends and that type of thing. I want to see.
Essentially, it's like you said. It's what you don't know, you don't know. That's the scariest part. It's really, if you see threats existing or emerging, you can kind of devise a way kind of to protect yourself or not to be an easy target. But it's the things that you don't know, really kind of in the white space out there.
It's the simple things too. Like I was at a parents' weekend at my daughter's university, and they were giving away USB keys. And in this day and age, I can't believe anyone would even take one. But it's just those are the ones that anyone could drop something in that bowl and take it, and that's just those things that we're not thinking about. And so free USB, I'll take this. I need one. And that's where it's going to be those simple things that really cause some heavy damage, and that's what it's behaviors.
That's scary. It sounds like almost a scene from a hacker movie I saw, where they would basically just sprinkle USB keys in front of an office that would say payroll information or something like this. People just couldn't help themselves, and then it just takes one, right? Someone gets curious, and then they install the back door, and everything is open.
That's why it always points back to the human is the weakest point in the whole system, because they have emotions. They want to please someone, or they think someone's telling them to do something that they're authoritatively being told you need to do this, and they don't think, they just automatically react just because they want to please someone or do a good job. And you got to try to retrain people to not think that way and question authority. I mean,
absolutely. Well, it's a good fight, and again, cybersecurity is a team sport. So in the end of the day, everyone needs to be aware that that game is going on. Otherwise, they'll be surprised and not in a good way. And I appreciate it, John.
Definitely, communication is the big thing. That's one thing about Affinity. I had the email to join it, and it's really is a sharing post. I mean, people share their experiences, because working in one agency or one company, you don't really experience all these other things happening, these outliers that you're not even aware of. So if we have shared resources and we can go to that and say, wow, I never thought about this process. I didn't even think about that. We're getting everyone's experience together. I'm not just getting my experience and sharing it, but I'm learning from everyone else's experience as well. So that's why this platform is fantastic to be part of. And that's what I'm really looking forward to doing.
Absolutely. No, it's the only way the good guys can win is by sticking together, because we have to be right 100% of the time, and the attacker has to be right once, and it's just
exactly the odds are not in our favor.
Exactly. So John, I appreciate you coming on today. Where can people find you? What's the best way to connect?
LinkedIn is probably the best way to connect, find me. That's the best way. All the contact information is on there, and I'm happy to help out in any way I can, and accept criticism and whatever not. I'm open to all kinds of feedback, and I'm always open to help someone get into the cybersecurity field and make a living of it, because it's always it's never boring. It's always has something to jump to, and I'm just happy that I made it, and I'm grateful that I've met you and Alfinia.
Thank you. Thanks, John.